Hey everyone, Coops here from the whole Box and Dice. Last time we tackled a tribal deck, so today I thought we'd do an introduction to combo, and what better way with a budget standard deck. We've picked Aetherflux Reservoir, or as I've affectionately dubbed it, 52 Pickup. Great introduction, like I said, to playing combo decks, and if you are following me on Twitter, stick close because we're having a couple more polls up for future decks. Obviously, Aetherflux Reservoir is going to be the principal or hero card in the deck, and we're running 4 copies. Whenever you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn, and you can pay 50 life to deal 50 damage to target creature or player. So, how do we nuke our opponent? Well, we need to cast a lot of spells, and luckily we've got plenty of great zero-cost ones available to us. Playsets of Cathar's Shield, Bonesaw, and Ornithopter will help us get there. Obviously, Ornithopter being a creature is a little bit squishier, so do be wary of that. 3 copies of Prophetic Prism and 2 of Implement of Improvement. Prism helps us draw cards, while Implement also gives us a little bit of life as well. 3 copies of Inspiring Statuary. This is very handy for the next set of spells that I'll be showing you, because we can tap our zero-cost artifacts down to play stuff like Paradoxical Outcome, which we're running 4 of, and 2 Leave to Chance, which is the new card from Hour of Devastation. Just gives you another pickup tool, effectively, and the Sorcery Aftermath on chance is quite relevant as well, and just costs the 1 red. 3 copies of Whir of Invention is a great way to tutor up Aetherflux Reservoir in our opponent's end step, and the fact that it has Improvise means we can pay our zero-cost artifacts to do so. We're going to run a copy of Turn-Aside and Dispel, because things like Abrade exist in the format, and it is nice to be able to have that protection main board. Just the 2 copies is enough, I think. Crush of Tentacles as a one-off is a great panic button, and when you play a zero-cost artifact, you can surge it on for 5 and leave behind a big 8/8 blue octopus. It does return your Aetherflux Reservoir to your hand, so you do need to be a little careful of that, but it's okay. It definitely is worth playing, like I said, as an emergency reset. In the lands, we're running 24 lands, and it's actually the majority of the cost of the deck. 4 Spybluff Canals and 4 Irrigated Farmlands will take up the majority of your cost, but I guess you can look at it being like, grab 2 playsets of super relevant lands until the next rotation for these happens, which is quite a while away for Kaladesh and Armon-Ket, and then you can just add some super funky pieces to make a really fun to play combo deck. Couple of cycle lands in there, the rest are just basics, and 1 copy of Inventor's Fair, which we can sack to go grab another Aetherflux Reservoir, and yes, the triggers do stack as you play them. In the sideboard, aggro is such a pain in the butt at the moment, so we're running a playset of Authority of the Consoles. Cast Out is super important and a must-need card as it both cycles, and it also deals with pesky Planeswalkers, which is very, very important because we do not have a very fun time coming up against Planeswalkers at all. 4 copies of Radiant Flames. I really would like to play Sweltering Suns or Fumigate, because you've got the cycle and then the life gain, but double white's very difficult to get. Double red is very difficult to get in the deck as well. We're running some other colours, so we can't really run in gold for the shore. So I do really like Radiant Flames, and even if you can get it off for just 2, it is still very relevant. And a playset of Fevered Visions. This is our best chance of catching the control decks off guard. We do need to see that red mana, which we have 6 sources of, or 9 if you include Prophetic Prism. But Fevered Visions can be a huge advantage to us, both for card draw and damage through to our opponent. So, how do we win the game? What are we looking to do? Well, just before we get into that, please be wary of tapping down against Teamer decks and blue decks that might run Censor. And do not play Aetherflux Reservoir too early if you're not ready to combo off. There's no point getting it down on the battlefield when cards like Abrade exist if you're not ready to gain a whole bunch of life. But how does that sequence work when we do have an Aetherflux down? Well, you play your Prophetic Prism, first spell, that's 1 life. You play your Bonesaw, that's your second spell, so you actually get 2 life for that spell. And if you then play something like Cathar's Shield, you'd get 3 life for that spell. So at this point, if you played these 3 cards, you'd have 6 life. You play a 4th spell, you get 10. And then a 5th spell, you'd have 15 life. A spell after that, you'd be up to 21. So you can see how quickly you can amass life. And then you play something like Paradoxical Outcome to replay it all again, plus the cards that you've drawn to get to that 50 life and just go off for huge amounts of life gain, and it's a very, very fun deck, and it's very humorous to play. You can go down the route of creatures and play things like Gisela and Lone Rider, but I think the artifacts are the best way to do so, especially when you've got a card like Inspiring Statuary, which allows you to obviously cast things like Whir of Invention and Paradoxical Outcome for cheaper. Now, do also be wary that Disallow can be used to make you have a really horrible time, so control matches definitely are something that we do not like, and Planeswalkers can be very annoying as well. You know, Chandra, Torture Defiance is a big problem. Lily, Ultimate, and a whole bunch of zombies will also kill you very, very fast, so be wary if you have Cast Out. Try not to cycle them if you feel like you're coming up against Planeswalkers, unless you absolutely have to. And obviously use Crusher Tentacles at the right time to bounce them all back to their hands, so they have to start their loyalty again. Now, I've included the tapped out link in the description below if you want to check out the deck. And you can see that the price for this, like I said, is only about $80 in online vendors, which is pretty awesome. And the majority of that is the land base, which you'll definitely be able to make use of through other decks. Now, the biggest thing, I guess, or the biggest drawback to this deck is the upcoming rotation. It's taken a very long time for this deck to be a little bit more viable, and I have seen builds like Mono Blue running around, and like I said, the creature builds, but when rotation happens, we do lose cards like Cathar's Shield and Bonesaw. We lose Crusher Tentacles, even though it's just a one-of, it is a very handy card to have. We lose cards like Dispel and Turn-Aside when the Zendikar and Eldritch sets are gone as well. I'm not sure if we'll see these cards again. Probably Dispel in a core set, but I'm not too sure about Turn-Aside, unfortunately. But, guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, if you have enjoyed this kind of deck, make sure you're following me on Twitter. We did the poll like I showed earlier. Probably do something like Mono Green Godfarer's Gift next, because I'm having a lot of fun with that. Plus, I've got a great Teema Drake Cycle deck, which actually is relatively competitive as well, so that is a lot of fun to play. And a great way probably is an introduction to the mid-range game, so they're two pretty solid mid-range decks, which I think will be another good further introduction to the types of Magic decks you can play. But whilst we do love Magic here at the Whole Box and Dice, I have actually been running my eye over a couple of other different TCGs, mainly Metacross and Dragon Ball Super, the trading card game. Just put out a video for Dragon Ball Super, and I'll have some how to plays on both Metacross and DBS up later on in the week. So if you want to check them out, they look like very fun games. They definitely borrow elements of things like Vanguard and Final Fantasy and Pokemon, so interesting styles. And we do have our 250 sub Mythic Foil Majestic Miriarch giveaway. We're almost at 250 subs, so make sure you are in on that. I'll put the Gleam link in the comments below. But guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, that is just about it for me today. If you've got a card that you'd like me to see, try and build a budget deck around, let me know in the comments. Is there a budget deck that you're really enjoying playing at the moment? Please do let me know. Hit the hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you are new. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Coops. This is the Whole Box and Dice. Peace.